and this provoked an outcry in Britain. Fascist Italy had invaded the East African state of Abyssinia, and this provoked an outcry in Britain.
Damage control mode here, because this law has provoked an outcry. We've seen the governor and other Indiana officials in damage control mode here, because this law has provoked an outcry from business leaders across the state of Indiana.
I have to see if it suffers from any ill effects. If it's alive in, say, a month.
The captain and I seem to have suffered no ill effects.
When you're using Mork's mind, there's bound to be some ill effects.
From the ill effects of sunshine.
Effects? None at all, sir.
Are you suffering any ill effects?
The children involved in the hijack are not expected to suffer any long-term ill effects.
You have an ill effect on your women, Mr. Lerner.
In Nevada, chemical sprayed from crop-dusting airplanes have had more of an ill effect on the human population.
Captain Olgren, it seems you have endured your captivity with little ill effect.
Ill effects.
My late grandfather partook of several during the siege of Cartagena and never suffered any ill effects.
At this meeting at BioRen, sir, was there a discussion as to any possible ill effects from the vitamin spray?
It's going to have a knock-on effect.
So, this kind of attention to work health and safety has a knock-on effect to a business's public reputation. And an improved public reputation draws in new customers, ultimately improving the company's value.
I try, and I'm trying to get more strict with myself on this, but I try to make sure that I stop working at a certain time, because it will most definitely have a knock-on effect to how I perform the next day. And I think that is a side to productivity that kind of gets overlooked. The resting stage is...
These different revenue streams have had some knock-on effect through the pandemic.
Called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which I'm going to leave the link to and explain a video about in the card above, which is a malfunctioning of the autonomic nervous system that also affects my heart, bloody heart, and blood pressure, which then has the knock-on effect of making me quite delicate.
Shopping, it's going to have a knock-on effect to our economy. Shopping is the issue, because if people are scared to go out for dinner, go to restaurants, go to cinemas, go shopping, it's going to have a knock-on effect to our economy.
But it does actually start to have a knock-on effect, and I think in terms of regional development, we're looking now at putting a studio into Cairns.
Patterns. It's this change in winds which has a knock-on effect, changing temperature and rainfall in locations around the world.
These moments tend to have a knock-on effect that sharply calls attention to all the cats on screen, and like an optical illusion, a switch is flipped in the brain, and suddenly, they're all naked.
And the knock-on effect from that, for the workforce, is that the engineers have come up with lots of different use cases and ideas for using the sensor. The geologists spotted the fact
that has a knock-on effect in the mask deprives you of your sight for the 10 minutes that you wear it. So that has a knock-on effect in how you focus on the sounds.
Then, when you have the President of the United States attacking free and fair and independent journalists in the United States, that has a knock-on effect in all the other countries.
He's become one of those people whose life has had a knock-on effect that's almost incalculable.
6. For me, this is a super important tip. Put a tiny knob of butter into the pan before you take that steak out. Put a tiny knob of butter, tiny knob of butter, tiny knob of butter, and make sure you baste it with that butter. Let the butter caramelise, and it gives that really nice nut brown.
Stroke of luck there, Captain.
Hey, what a stroke of luck!
Stroke of genius.
We've had a stroke of luck.
That was a stroke of genius!
It was a stroke of genius.
Inviting Jose to join our project team was a stroke of genius.
The latest stroke of genius from electron utilization of Tinmouth.
I gotta say, that was a stroke of genius.
Those damn brothers had a stroke of genius.
Wait, I just had a stroke of genius.
I've experienced the whole gamut of emotions from joy to sorrow.
It's a stroke of genius.
Actually, the Swedish people run the gamut from very short to tall.
Tens of thousands of them. Subterranean, drywood, the whole gamut.
It behaves like bacteria, virus, a sentient being, the whole gamut.
Our forecast calls for flurries of passion.
And a flurry of lefts and rights by Joan.
You know, the full gamut.